everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got a special one for you. 10 cards that are each under $1 that feel like $10 cards. Let's jump into it. First up, my goodness, Lord of Extinction. Its price used to make, well, budget players like me feel extinct because you could never utilize it, but now, 93 cents for this gem. Yeah, it's gonna make your opponents extinct as well now. It's a star elemental for 5 mana in Golgari, and it says this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of creature cards, or sorry, I should say all cards. Yeah, if it was creature cards, it would still be powerful, but it is all cards in all graveyards. So this is a card that perfectly combines the two elements of Golgari. It's like, okay, I care about big creatures because of green. I care about death because of black. So things in the graveyard. So all of a sudden, it's like, you know what? Basically, no matter when you play this card, it's going to be the biggest creature on the board. It is very easy to get this to 10, 20, 30, 40 power. It's going to be a one-shot KO a good amount of the time, too. And of course, if you've got a deck built around, this type of, graveyard synergies, you can really utilize this to the fullest. And of course, power matter synergies as well. There are certain commanders out there that really want this, but just in general, if you're just like, I want like an obnoxiously large creature that doesn't cost a lot of mana for my deck, cool. This is a good bet because it's going to be the biggest creature on the board when you play it, and you only spent 5 mana to do so. So yeah, you can do some crazy things with this one. When it comes to commanders, I'm just going to point out a few that can love using this one. Gerard Golgari Lichlord, even more budget-friendly, 52 cents for this gem. For 1 in Golgari colors, you sacrifice another creature. Each opponent loses life equal to the sacrifice creature's power. This is kind of like a 2-card combo in a way where you're just like, okay, I play Lord of Extinction. Okay, does it have more power than your opponents have life? Cool. All right, sacrifice it. You win. That's basically it. It is a card that is absolutely absurd when it comes to a commander like this. Another one, though, Corum the Undertaker loves it as well. This one it gets plus X+0, where X is greatest power among creature cards in all graveyards. So, of course, there's different ways to get creature cards in graveyards. Like, you can mill, you can sacrifice them, you can discard them. But also, there's entomb type effects, of course, in black, where you say, okay, I go tutor up this card, I put it in my graveyard, and all of a sudden, Corum has, again, however much power Lord of Extinction would have in the graveyard. Because, yes, it does count, its power actually in the graveyard as such. So, yeah, if there are, again, like 40 cards in graveyards because you're going to be milling players, all of a sudden your commander has 40 power, which is a little overkill when it comes to commander damage. But, of course, yeah, you got plenty of effects that you can utilize, like fling effects, etc., to take players out. How about Gitrog, Ravenous Ride? Yeah, this one's quite the fun one, and it's going to end up being maybe a pretty long turn for you, but you're going to have a good time with it. Because this has Trample and Haste. Whenever it deals combat to a player, you may sacrifice a creature that's saddled at this turn. If you do, draw X cards and put up to X land cards from your hand on the battlefield. Tap Rexy, sacrifice creature's power. Saddle 1. I mean, again, super early in the game, you can get this out, and then all of a sudden, sacrifice your Lord of Extinction, which has a good amount of power. Or again, later in the game, if you have 40 cards in graveyards or whatever it is, all of a sudden you're like, okay, yeah, I draw, again, 40 cards, put 20 lands into play, and yeah, that's probably game. I mean, maybe it's a little unrealistic with the 20 lands, but still, you're gonna win the game literally with just one attack with this plus Lord of Extinction. Finally, though, how about the Mimeoplasm? A commander that goes about things in a different way. Enters the battlefield, you may exile 2 creature cards from graveyards. If you do, it enters the battlefield as a copy of one of the cards. The number of additional counters on equal to the power of the other card. So you're going to say, okay, copy of Lord of Extinction? No, wait, actually, you know what? Let's just get the copy of, say, an infect creature, or literally just any kind of a creature that is evasive, or maybe one that has a combat damage trigger based on the amount of damage you're dealing. And then you say, Lord of Extinction, how much power do you have? Okay, cool. Yeah, 40, great. I'll get 40 counters on this. So, Lord of Extinction is such a cool card. Again, it is one of those cards that could just be a pet card if you just want to chuck it in kind of any kind of a deck that has Golgari. It's like, you could have all these miscellaneous synergies in that deck, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm just going to play Lord of Extinction because why not? And your opponent's like, that is now the biggest threat on the board. My goodness, it's a one-shot KO on any of us. But of course, with certain commanders that really synergize with it, with graveyard-centric commanders, with ones that care about power, etc., you can do some crazy things. Next up, let's take a little break away from the creatures and talk about, well, something that likes creatures but likes to sacrifice them for lands. Perilous Forays, just 99 cents right now. This card to me has always been one that plays like a $10 card because it is an absurdly specific and unique effect that is so good in Commander. Enchantment for 5 mana, so the enchantment is a little expensive, but what it does for you, it will make up for that and then some. Pay 1, sacrifice a creature, search life for a land card with a basic land type, put on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Okay, this is a not free sacrifice outlet, so yeah, there are better sacrifice outlets out there when it comes to just freely sacrificing creatures, but the payoff is massive. It just costs 1 mana to do so. This is basically like a repeat Rampant Growth for just 1 mana every single time. Now, at the cost of a creature, you're not going to throw this into any kind of a deck out there and be like, this is my ramp strategy. Yeah, you kind of maybe want to keep your creatures around more so than that. But if you have a deck where, again, you actually want to sacrifice creatures, like an aristocrat-style strategy, a sacrifice kind of strategy, where you have benefits for sacrificing creatures or getting rid of them or getting them in your graveyard, cool. Utilize this. It's an incredible card that says, okay, I've got like 10 soldier tokens in play. Sorry, soldiers, I'm just going to start sacrificing you and ramping to oblivion, getting so far ahead of my opponents. And of course, well, if you have any kind of landfall triggers, taking advantage of all of those as well. It is an incredible card, and it gets even better with a commander like the Necro Bloom. Whenever a land enters battlefield under control, create a 0/1 green plant creature token. If you control 7 or more lands with different names, you get a 2/2 black zombie token instead. On top of that, your lands have dredge too. Cool, good for me. What matters, though, is literally, okay, I pay a mana, I sacrifice a creature, I get a token. Whether that's a plant or zombie, it really doesn't matter for this scenario because then you're going to pay another mana, do it again, pay another mana, do it again, pay another mana, do it again. You literally can get, like, all the basics out of your deck, or cards that have basic land type, I should say, into play very quickly with this because you're just going to basically be doubling up your lands every single one of your turns. Again, luckily for your opponents, the lands that you're getting from Perilous Forays go into play tap, but still, it is crazy effective. Speaking of which, Omnath, Locus of Rage, even more crazy. Again, landfall, whenever a land enters battlefield under control, you make a 5/5 elemental. Ouch. But on top of that, ouch, whenever it or other elemental you control dies with 3 damage to our creature player, basically Lightning Bolt. You are essentially paying 1 mana to ramp and also Lightning Bolt again and again and again and again and again and again. Absolutely crazy. And yeah, you might have other things you want to sacrifice instead of your 5/5s, but still, it's going to be well worth it to keep getting so many lands in play. And of course, you're going to have other landfall triggers as well. Or how about Eudora? This is a very interesting one where whenever another non-token creature control dies, you may return to the battlefield face down under its control. It's a forest land. This is one where there are some really weird, like, synergies that you might be able to utilize, like turning things into saprolings that are lands, etc., etc. There's some, like, weird combos that work well with it. But being able to essentially, at the very least, go, oh, okay, I sacrifice a non-token creature, it turns into a forest. By the way, I also, go get a basic land, which comes into play, tapped. So I just basically ramped 2, and now I can use that forest, essentially, to tap and do it again, and again, and again, and again, sacrificing non-token creature after non-token creature to ramp further. So you're kind of like, doubling up the effectiveness of Perilous Forays by turning that creature that you're sacrificing into a land 2 and getting 2 lands to the price of 1, which is pretty crazy. Or how about Beldros Witherbloom? This one is absolutely crazy with this as well. 4/4 Elder Dragon for 7 mana. At the beginning of each upkeep, you get a 1/1 pest. So yeah, you get some pests. Each trip around the table, you're getting 4, right? 1 per every player's turn. And when you sacrifice them, you're going to be gaining 1 life when they die. On top of that, though, you pay 10 life and you untap all lands you control, only once each turn. Only once each turn is not a big deal at all. You're like, okay, cool, all right, on my turn, I have, all these tokens in play. Cool, I'll sacrifice them, whatever, I'll go get some lands. Next turn, if I want to do that again, I can do it again. You can do some absolutely incredible things with this amazing sacrifice outlet. Again, it is not free. That's okay. You are utilizing it in a way to get so far ahead on lands. And again, use and abuse landfall triggers. It's absolutely amazing. Pick up this card right now. And I guess I should have mentioned that all these cards are going to be in a card list link in the description below. So pick them up right now. Next up, though, a spicy one with Mystic Reflection, a card to me that has always played like a $10 card and definitely can be a game ender and a game changer for you. It is an instant for 2 mana in blue. Choose target non-legendary creature. The next time one or more creatures or planeswalkers enter the battlefield this turn, they enter the copies as chosen creature. Basically, you are saying, hey, all right, all these ones that I have that are entering the battlefield, all these creatures that are coming into play, they are now this instead. And it can be the best creature on the board. Again, a non-legendary creature, they're going to be the best creature on the board, essentially. All these ones that you have coming into play, and they can be your creatures, they can be an opponent's creature. It doesn't matter what it is. Whatever the best non-legendary creature on the board is, all your things are coming to play as copies of that, which is insane. On top of that, you can foretell it for just a single blue mana, so it can be really cheap to actually pull off when you need to. When it comes to commanders that can utilize this one, I mean, obviously, like ones like Xyrus the Writhing Storm, ones that can make an absurd amount of tokens at once can really take advantage of this, because you say, okay, you know what, hey, whenever an opponent draws a card except the first they draw into their draw steps, I get a 1/1 snake. That's very easy to force, essentially, opponents to draw more than one card in a turn. So, essentially, being able to go, okay, hey, let's just wheel, you know, let's cast, like, Windfall. All of a sudden, everyone's drawing 7 cards, and you're like, okay, I just made 21 snakes. And then you're like, oh yeah, Mystic Reflection with this. Okay, I'll have all of these little 1/1 snakes that would just be, okay, yeah, pretty good as 1/1 snakes, turn into something much more massive, especially if you have something that has like an ETB, like a Mold Drifter or whatnot. Have fun with that. I mean, be careful, but have fun with that. So yeah, you can do some pretty crazy things. Speaking of which, Ovika Enigma Goliath. This one can get really insane. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create X 1/1 red for X and Goblin creature tokens or X the mana value of that spell to gain haste until end of turn. So again, you're going to be making a ton of little goblins throughout the game, and all of a sudden you can say, you know what, instead of them being goblins, let's make them copies of, again, the biggest thing on the board, and all of a sudden I have a game-ending play that I'm going to win with. Or how about, well, Adrix and Ebb Twincasters. Board 2, if one or more tokens are created and control twice that many tokens are created instead, you're doubling up the effectiveness of this. Again, if you got any kind of, like, say, Avenger of Zendikar or something like that, have fun. You're like, okay, Avengers of Zendikar, all right, I'm getting twice as many plants, and then, oh, wait, those aren't plants, they're more Avengers of Zendikars. Pretty crazy plays to be had. Renar the Ever-Watchful, though, one that works with both the foretell as well as the kind of token aspect of it, too. The first card you foretell each turn costs 0 to foretell, so being able to just go, okay, I foretell it. All of a sudden, now I just pay a single blue mana for that insane effect. On top of that, whenever you exile one of your cards in your hand and are permanents from the battlefield, create a 1/1 white sphere creature with flying. Being able to make tokens is very easy with this as well. So yeah, again, this is a card that it always overperforms in my mind. It just says, you know what? Hey, take this really good play that you already have, again, making a bunch of tokens, great, good for you, and make it even better. It also works well with like mass blink effects too, like Eerie Interlude, so do keep that in mind. But yeah, for the most part, it's like, hey, okay, giant amount of tokens, giant massive threat that they all become, essentially. It's going to be a really fun big play for you. Next up, Treasure Vault. 94 cents for this gem right now. Artifact land that has tap add a colorless. Pay XX tap, sacrifice this land, create X treasure tokens. Being able to just say, you know what, this is literally just a land in my deck. It's not taking up a spot in my deck. Yeah, it's not fixing my mana for me right now. That being said, Zerg commanders out there might be monocolor or 2-color, and you can kind of, fit a good amount of utility lands in those decks, and you're not really too worried about, actually making sure that you can get the right mana. You've got other ways to actually fix your mana too, right? So you're going to be fine. That being said, this is just like a ticking time bomb for you that eventually turns into an absurd amount of value that your opponents, kind of have to respect, because it's going to get pretty crazy with the amount of, kind of like temporary ramp that you have with it, but also the miscellaneous synergies that you can have too. So yeah, this card, again, doesn't want to take up a spot in your deck, and it can be a game ender for you. I mean, how about Kinnan Bonder Prodigy? Again, a 2-color commander, essentially, in Simic. Whenever you tap a non-land permanent for mana, add 1 mana of any type that permanent produced. So being able to say, you know what? I've got my low-to-the-ground commander with this land that doesn't want to take up a spot in the deck, and all of a sudden I can say, you know what, let's dump a ton of mana, which again, I'm already going to have a lot of mana with this commander, and being able to utilize that in this, treasure creator that I just happen to have as a land, and it makes it so those treasures are basically tapping for double. So yeah, you are saying, you know what, I'm going to make an absurd amount of mana with those treasures, and then dump it into this activated ability as well, and do some pretty crazy things. Or how about Magda Brazen Outlaw? 2/1 Dwarf Berserker. It pumps your dwarves. Cool. More importantly, dwarves come tap, you get treasures. Cool. Most importantly, though, here we go. Sacrifice 5 treasures, search life for an artifact or a dragon card, put on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. This essentially turns this land into a tutor for some of the most powerful things out there. you literally can go get, again, if you have enough mana, if you're sacrificing it for enough, essentially, and you're like, okay, cool, yeah, that turns into maybe 2 things that you can tutor for, and you're like, okay, I get this, I get that, I combo, I win. Yay! I mean, yay for you. Anyways, being able to do something like that can be pretty crazy with this. Even if you're just tutoring for one thing, it's just a land in your deck, and again, it's a monocolored deck. Next up, Terrifying Squirrel General, a commander that absolutely loves tokens. If one of our tokens we created under control of those tokens plus that many 1/1 squirrels are created instead. And of course, you can sacrifice squirrels as well for, taking things out or pumping things. So being able to essentially go, okay, you know what? Out of nowhere, just, again, can be at instant speed right before my turn. Let's sacrifice this land, get some treasures for a nice boost of mana on my next turn, but also with that, get a boost of even more squirrels. So, yeah, you can take over the game with something like that. And then how about Obscure Iron Eater? Who cares about artifacts in a different way? Affinity for artifacts. So, yeah, you can cast it for a lot cheaper when you get more artifacts in play. Keep in mind that just the land itself already is an artifact, so do keep that in mind. It does help reduce its cost just by being in play, so it kind of, in a way, taps for 2 or counts for 2 mana toward it. But then when you sacrifice it, of course, you can make even more treasures to do a step further. On top of that, when this enters the battlefield, you draw X cards, lose X life, or X is half the number of artifacts you control, rounded down. So being able to essentially utilize this to, again, with either blink effects, or with, extra copy effects, or with, feign death type effects, use and abuse that ETB to draw a ton of cards, and you can gain the life back in other ways too. But yeah, Treasure Vault can be a great way to increase the amount of artifacts that you have, give you a good burst of mana. Work with token synergies too. You do a lot of cool things with this, and again, it doesn't really take up a spot in your deck at all. It's just 94 cents for this gem. Let's move forward though with Rishkar's Expertise. 92 cents for this card that always changes the game. A Sorcery Reaver, 6 mana in green. Draw cards equals a greatest power when creatures you control. You may cast a spell with mana value 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. This is a format of big threats and big creatures and big plays, and this is most definitely a big play that can just absolutely change the entire direction of the game. Casting this onto a board with some big creatures, I mean, you can definitely have some commanders, we'll get to some here in a bit, that already have just an absurd amount of power themselves. Being able to be like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll just draw 10 cards. Cool, alright, draw 10 cards for 6 mana. That is insane. I mean, blue players out there are jealous that you can do that. And then on top of that, you're like, oh, by the way, I also just spent 6 mana to do this, but I get something that costs 5 or less for free, too. So it's kind of like I spent 1 mana to do the whole, draw 10 cards thing. So you are just putting yourself so far ahead, card advantage-wise, than your opponents, and also getting something for free out of it. And, of course, there's some really weird things that you can do, like Hypergenesis if you want to do something like that. That doesn't have a mana value, so you can't cast it, but it's technically 0 if you were to do this. Anyways, fun times for you, and yeah, game-changing plays for you. I mean, a commander like, Selvala, Heart of the Wilds, is one that absolutely loves giant creatures. Whenever the creature enters the battlefield, its controller may draw a card. If its power is greater than each other creature's power, you're going to be the only one drawing cards with this, because your creatures are going to be absolutely massive. By paying a green and tapping at X-Men, any combination of colors where X is greatest power among creatures you control, yeah, you can make an absurd amount of mana, so you can cast a giant amount of things in a turn. You probably have ways to untap this as well. So being able to go, okay, yeah, my greatest power creature is 10. Cool, alright, I will cast that. I'll draw 10 cards. I'll get so much mana in play, and then I'll get to cast something for free. And then I'll also get to, again, play some massive things out of my hand too that I just drew. Or how about Xenagos, God of Revels? A commander that says, you know what? I might not be the biggest creature on the board. I mean, I'm not small. 6'5", legendary champion creature, god with indestructible. That might not be a creature, though, if you don't have the devotion right, though. That being said, if combat on your turn, no target creature you control gains haste and gets +X to whatever X that creature's power, it's going to double up that creature's power, and all of a sudden you're going to be like, okay, yeah, again, that creature that already was at 10 power now is at 20 power, and I'm drawing 20 cards and playing something for free. Or how about someone that's already almost at 20 power, essentially with Yargle and Multani? 18/6 Frog Spirit Elemental, because that's a thing, for 6 mana in Golgari, and that's all it does. But again, it enables massive plays, like playing Rishkar's Expertise, drawing 18 cards for 6 mana, that is literally 3 cards per 1 mana. Ancestral Recall is essentially 6 of them, that is pretty crazy, and again, casting something for free too. So yeah, you can definitely end the game with something like that. Or how about Galta Primal Hunger? Again, a commander that has a high converted mana cost at 12, but you're never going to pay that. It's a 12/12 trampling Elder Dinosaur. It's going to cost X less to cast for X total power on creatures you control. You're going to have this, cast for just 2. In fact, in my Dinosaurs and Cars deck, yeah, just vehicles, dinosaurs. It's a lot of fun, and you're basically always going to be able to recast it again and again and again for just 2 mana. So being able to play then Rishkar's Expertise by following that up is a very, very fun play to then just completely change the entire aspect of the game. Again, you can literally have just one card in your hand, your commander not even on the board, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, it's later in the game. I do have 8 mana though because I'm in green, duh. And I'm going to play my commander for 2, play Rishkar's Expertise for 6, and all of a sudden change the entire look of the game. Rishkar's Expertise is so much fun. It definitely plays like a $10 card. Again, such a game changer for you. Pick it up. Stay tuned for this one, though, because Doom Whisperer is here. Yeah, just 95 cents for this card that, again, if you showed someone 20 years ago this card, they'd be like, that can't be real. No way. Like, that's just insane. Like, again, like, how is this all just upside? It is a 6/6 Flampling Nightmare Demon for 5 mana in black. So you're already like, okay, back in the day, what's the downside? There's got to be a downside, right? There has to be a downside. It costs 5 mana. It's a 6/6 Flampler. And it's like, no. No downside at all. Just more upside. An absurd upside. Literally, if this was just like a 1/1 that cost 5 mana, that didn't have Flying or Trample, and just had Pay 2 Life, Surveil 2, it would still see play, because that is such a unique effect, and it's absolutely insane, but it already is just a big threat in itself, too. Again, Flampling 6/6 for 5 that also has Pay 2 Life, Surveil 2, which is crazy because that is a repeatable effect that you, again, are utilizing a free resource that you have, life, and you've got an absurd amount of it, again, 40, and probably even more if you're going to be in black and you can, drain opponents and that kind of stuff as well. You got ways to get that life back, but you can literally just dig through like most of your deck with this and say, do I want that? No. Do I want that? No. Do I want that? No. Do I want that? Yes. Okay, keep that on top. Cool. The other thing's in my graveyard, and by the way, I have some graveyard synergies that work really well with this too. This is a crazy good card with a crazy effective effect. Let's talk about some commanders that really want it. For example, Bator Ancestor's Voice. 3/5 Flying Lifelink Spirit Dragon, so you can get some life back there. Good. Begin your end set, put a number of counters on it up to one target creature. One other creature, I should say. On it would be pretty ridiculous. One other target creature you control based on the amount of life you gain this turn. So, yeah, if you got something else that you're gaining life with, cool, good for you. Maybe even have like a life swap type thing that you can work with. That being said, return to one target creature card with mana value less than or equal to the amount of life you lost this turn from your grave to the battlefield. This commander says, hey, you know what, Doom Whisperer, you're great because you can not only get things into my graveyard that I want to reanimate, but you can help me lose that life so I can reanimate them too. Or how about Sir Conrad the Grim? This can be a finisher for you. Whenever another creature dies, or a creature card is put in a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad the Grim deals 1 damage each opponent. This is pretty crazy. I mean, this really gets insane if you can actually give this lifelink, which there are plenty of ways to do so. Give Sir Conrad lifelink, and all of a sudden, okay, Pay 2 life with my Doom Whisperer, Surveil 2. Oh, I hit some creatures? Cool. Ping, ping, I'm gaining life. Do it again, and again, and again, and again. Even if you don't have life gain on this, if you're at enough life and your opponents are lower, you can take them all out just by repeat effective, just using the ability. It's incredible. Well, Draw to the Gravetide. Hey, do you want to just like free card draw in a way? During each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a permanent spell of each permanent type from your graveyard. So your graveyard is basically like an extension of your hand in a way. And Doom Whisperer says, yeah, let's just dig down and get things into our graveyard hand and just utilize those. Speaking of drawing, though, Villas, Broker of Blood, a match made in heaven between these two demons. This says whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. So again, you're literally going, okay, I pay 2 life, I'm surveilling 2, and I'm drawing 2 cards. So I can just pick cards off the top of my library I don't want, draw into cards that I do want, and just keep doing it again and again and again. Again, Doom Whisperer, the type of card that if you showed this to someone from back in the day, they would not believe that this would ever become a real card, because it's like, there's no downside at all. Like, at all. Like, this is all upside. This is just a 6/6 Flampler for 5 mana, so you're already winning there. And on top of that, you get, like, free card selection with this that can turn into card advantage in certain ways, too. It's a crazy good card. Pick it up. Let's change things up, though, with Rabbel Rousing. This one's 99 cents, just under our $1 mark, and enchantment for 5 mana in white. Hideaway 5. So when it enters, look at the top 5 cards of your library, exile 1 face down, then put the rest of the bottom of your library in random order. I'm going to be honest right here. I kind of always forget that this has Hideaway because that's not the most important aspect of it. Whenever you attack with one or more creatures, create that many 1/1 green and white citizen creature tokens. Then if you control 10 or more creatures, you play the exile card that paying its mana cost. Again, getting to 10 is incredibly easy for you because you're basically doubling up your army every single turn, which is insane. But sure, I mean, like, you get to cast something for free. That's lovely. That's amazing. But also just, hey, for a 5-mana enchantment, you double up your army every single turn. And of course, with the next turn, if you're attacking with those creatures, then you're doubling it even further, and then doubling even further, and then doubling even further. Of course, there are certain, cards out there also that make this even more effective somehow, like, token doublers, etc., etc. But yeah, it is absolutely insane the impact that this can have for a go-wide strategy, a token strategy, a ETB strategy. It can be absolutely crazy. Or how about an attack strategy like, well, Ishin to Heavens as one? The creature attack can cause a triggered ability of a permanent control to trigger. Triggers at an additional time. Basically, attack Harmonicon. And again, this is an attack trigger on Rabbel Rousing, so double that up right then and there. Or how about, maybe turning those creatures into something else? Jenny Faye Jetmir II, a 3/3 elf druid for 3 mana and Naya says, if you create one or more tokens, you may instead create that many 2/2 green cat creature tokens with haste, or that many 3/1 green creature tokens with vigilance. So basically being able to go, okay, you know what, those 1/1 citizens are nice, but let's either turn them into a 2/2 or a 3/1, and of course I probably some other synergies as well with cats or dogs. Have fun. How about, though, I don't know, Kadir Call the Small. This one really cares about, just going super wide with super amounts of tokens, and all of a sudden you're making even more rabbits too. When it deals combination to a player for each token you control, create a 1/1 white rabbit creature token. So you're already doubling up with Rabbel Rousing on the attack, and then you double up the army on the hit as well, and then you do it again and again and again. You're going to need, 5 tables to actually put all your tokens on. You're going to run out of room very quickly, so have fun with all the math on that. And then finally, Jetmir Nexus of Rebels. A 5/4 cat demon. Creature you control get +1/+0 and have vigilance as long as you control 3 or more creatures. The same is true at 6 or more, but it's +1/0 and trample. And then at, 9 or more, it's going to be an extra +1/0 and double strike. So in total, basically, because you're going to get there super easy, obviously, to 9, +3/+0, vigilance, trample, double strike. So all those tiny little 1/1 citizens are now hitting for 8 damage each. Ouch. So, yeah, Rabbel Rousing is an absurd card. It is basically just a army doubler is basically what I would describe it as. That also has, slight card advantage on it, too, because the Hideaway 5 be able to cast something for free. It is a crazy good card for go-wide strategies, for token strategies. Go pick it up. But now let's talk about Galadream Ambush. And I probably said that wrong, sorry. I mean, I've seen Lord of the Rings, but, I'm not, the biggest Lord of the Rings nerd. Anyways, instant for 4 mana in green. Create X 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens for X the number of attacking creatures. Prevent all combat damage to be dealt this turn by non-elf creatures. This card is crazy good. This is a fog that turns into an army, essentially. It is a one-sided fog that turns into an army in a way if you are building, an elf tribal deck. But of course, if you have just a token strategy, this can just be an insane burst of tokens. And keep in mind, you can actually utilize this kind of against yourself in a way if you need to. This can be a great way to go, okay, you know what? I'm on the attack. There might be some creatures I have that aren't elves. But you know what? I'd rather just double up my army. I've got 10 creatures already. I can just double up my army by casting this for 4 mana. I might prevent some damage from non-elf creatures, but also protect my other elves too. It is a crazy play offensively, defensively, and yeah, just a giant army creator. Even if you're not involved in the combat at all, it doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter who those creatures are attacking. One opponent could be swinging at another one. You can make a deal with that player that's getting attacked and be like, hey, that player over there doesn't have any elves in play, okay? And they're like, well, that's weird that you mentioned that, but sure, yeah, they don't have any elves. Okay, so I can protect you from their non-elf creatures, and then again, they're like, okay, this is getting weird. Why? Well, specifically non-elves. You're like, yeah, okay, don't worry about it, but I can protect you from that. Give me a turn off of you swinging at me. And they're like, okay, cool, awesome. And then you're like, okay, I've spent 4 mana to not get attacked by another player, and I also make if they have 10 creatures attacking, cool, 10 creatures, awesome, good for me. Just for 4 mana. Some commanders that absolutely love this are Azuri Claw Progress. My goodness. In elf itself, but it doesn't have to be elf tribal. It says whenever a creature power 2 or less enters the battlefield under control, you get an experience counter. Here's the thing. Again, you were literally just saying, okay, now, out of nowhere, like again, like 10 creatures just pop into play and I get 10 experience counters. Good for me. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you get X counters on a target creature you control, or X the number of experience counters you have. You can turn something into the biggest threat on the board now, thanks to you casting that card. Balin the Haymaker. Get an absurd amount of value out of this. Tap 2 and tap tokens you control, add 1 mana of any color. 3 and tap tokens you control, draw a card. And 4 to get some counters on this, give it a trample. Cool. The most important ones are the first two. Being able to say, okay, I just spent 4 mana on this card that gets me probably that mana back if I really want to actually tap all those tokens for mana, sure. Or turn them into card advantage. You can go so wide with a card like this. Of course, Elf Tribal also would love this too. Last Bray of the Elves. Whenever it deals combat to a player, you get that many 1/1 elves. Cool, good for you. So yeah, go wide with this, of course. That being said, tap 10 untap elves you control. Each opponent loses 10 life and you gain 10 life. Turn that into an advantage by just out of nowhere getting an absurd amount of elves and being like, okay, you thought that I wasn't able to do this to you? Now I can. So I'll do this, then I'll probably vitalize on top of my army, do it again, and take all my opponents out of nowhere. Speaking of which, Jaws of the Conclave. Oh my goodness. Vigilant Trample, Ward 3, because it needed all that, wizards. Whenever it attacks, you get X counters on each creature you control, X the number of elves you control, draw a card for each wolf you control. Yeah, hypercharge the amount of elves you control out of nowhere again. Just getting an absurd amount of counters on all of your creatures. And of course, you got extra combats. Have fun with that. Again, the Ambush is an absolutely crazy card that, again, doesn't have to be an elf deck specifically. It obviously really thrives in those decks, but again, any kind of a go-wide strategy can also utilize it. And again, it's a good political tool for you as well. One opponent's attacking another, make sure you take advantage of that and be like, ooh, there's a lot of creatures attacking. I can make a deal with that player. Let's do that. Utilize an amazing card like this, again, just 97 cents. Let's take a different approach to this card, though, because Seasons Past is all about value. All about absurd amounts of value, and about kind of a really weird mechanic as well. A Sorcery for 6 mana in green, 95 cents for this gem. Return any number of cards with different converted mana costs from your graveyard to your hand. Put it on the bottom of its owner's library. Actually, there's some really weird plays that you can utilize with the bottom of library effect, essentially. So do keep that in mind. There are certain combos that you can use with this too. That being said, outside of that, it is absurdly value-centric. 6 mana is a lot, yes, but when it comes to recursion spells, typically, when it comes to getting one thing back, like a regrowth will cost you 2. When it comes to getting 2 things back, unless it specifies, sometimes it's okay, 2 specific things, like 2 permanents or whatever, 2 cards of this type, 2 cards of that type, that would cost 4, but usually it's any kind of a card you want that costs 5. This one's okay, 1 mana more, and you'd be okay, maybe 3 things, but you're no. With this card in the right strategy out there, you're getting back 6+ cards. So you are able to get back so many things, basically a brand new hand with this. And again, you can utilize this card in so many cool ways for the right deck out there. I mean, a card like, Jodah, Archmage Eternal. I love this commander. 4/3 human wizard with flying for, well, I was going to say Wooburg, but Jeskai colors, but it is a Wooburg commander because it has. You may pay Wooburg rather than pay the mana cost for spells you cast. So, I mean, this makes this card even better. Seasons Past is 1 mana less when you cast it with Jodah, essentially. And then also, keep in mind, with a commander like this, you're utilizing so many different converted mana costed cards that you're going to have a graveyard chock full of them at some point and be oh yeah, okay, I've got 9 different mana costs in my graveyard. Let's pay 6 mana to get all those back and do some more crazy things. Or how about Wart the Raid Mother, a commander that can really take advantage of this as well. Again, some big spells with this commander too. Enters the battlefield, you get 2 1/1 red and green goblin creature tokens. All of a sudden, each red and green instant sorcery spell you cast has Conspire, so you can basically copy it just by tapping some of those. So, again, cast a doubled up Seasons Past to get back 10 cards out of your graveyard. Yeah, that's not unheard of at all. Glarb, Calamity's Augur. This one's got Tap Surveil too, so it's going to be able to get cards in your graveyard more and more often. Plenty of untap effects to utilize it as well. Fill up that graveyard. And again, when you do cast Seasons Past, have fun with that, being able to actually utilize that essentially, and you can utilize it off the top of your library as well, because you can look at the top of your library anytime, play lands and cast spells with mana value 4 or greater from the top of your library. You're gonna have a lot of different mana costs from that. Or how about Rashmi, Eternity's Crafter? Again, one that does care about mana value as well. If you're casting your first spell each turn, reveal the top card of your library. You may cast out paying its mana cost. If it's a spell of lesser mana value, if you don't cast it, put in your hand. Being able to cast again a 6 mana value spell and say, oh, okay, off the top of my library, oh, awesome, something that costs 5, cool. I'll play that while also getting back so many different things out of my graveyard, because again, this is a commander that can utilize so many different mana values. Seasons Past, again, really pushes to the limit the value that you can get out of a recursion card. And again, there's some really weird combos that you can do with it too, with it going to the bottom of your library. But yeah, at the very least, getting back like 6+ cards is so much fun. Basically, a new hand out of your graveyard. Check it out. Finally, though, Massacre Worm. Again, a card that always in my mind is like perpetually $10, but right now it somehow is less than 90 cents right now. 6/5 Phyrexian Worm for 6 mana in black. Enters the battlefield. Creatures opponents control get -2/-2 until end of turn. Whenever a creature opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. This is a mini board wipe, which can turn into a bigger board wipe with certain commanders as well. That also is a game ender for you. And also, yeah, I mean, it's still a 6/5 worm. Cool, good for me. Being able to essentially say, you know what, let's take creatures out, make my opponents lose a lot of life already, especially against certain types of strategies like, go wide strategies, which we talked about some of those earlier, which would be devastated by this. But also being able like, okay, if I'm just in play and your creatures die, I'm just draining you throughout the game, again, like Blood Artist style, essentially. So yeah, being able to have this be like a mini board wipe in a way, potentially even a bigger board wipe in certain scenarios, or again with certain commanders, and then just punishing opponents so much, what's not to love about this card? Okay, let's get into some pretty brutal commanders that this can work with. First up, Maha, Its Feathers Knight. Oh my, gross. 6/5 Elemental Bird, Flample, discard a card with Ward. Again, like literally if you showed this card to a player from 20 years ago, they'd be like, what? And 5 mana for this? Okay. On top of that, though, creatures both control have toughness 1. Okay, base toughness 1. All of a sudden, your opponents are like, oh yeah, my creatures are super tiny. Play Massacre Worm. It takes out every single one of their creatures, drains them for a ton. And again, if they happen to keep playing creatures, a simple, Feign Death effect on Massacre Worm or Blink effect just says, okay, let's do that again. You're all gone. Or any other kind of like -1/-1 effect just drains your opponents a ton with that. Massacre Girl, known killer. It says, creature control of Wither. On top of that, whenever a creature opponent controls dies, if its toughness was less than 1, draw a card. Being able to just go, okay, hey, you know what? Massacre Worm takes out creatures, makes them smaller, than their toughness, 1 or less, essentially. They die, and I am drawing a ton of cards while also punishing my opponents, and they lose life, too. Of course, you've got other ways to, make your opponent's creatures go away, too, with this. Next up, Renmaw Creaking Nest. I give and I take away. Enters the battlefield, and whenever you play a card with 2 or more card types, each player makes a tapped 2/2 Blackbird creature with flying. The tokens are goaded for the rest of the game. Yeah, there are plenty of opportunities to have this come into play, or again, actually just say, you know what, I'm casting an artifact creature, or whatever, essentially. Being able to do that, make a ton of birds for your opponents, and say, swing at each other, yay! Take each other's life totals down, that's great! And all of a sudden, Massacre Worm, everyone else is gone, the game is over. Or the incredibly brutal, incredibly salty Toxrill the Corrosive. Basically, at the beginning of each 10 step, every single creature you don't control gets a slime counter on it. And then also, they get -1/-1 for each slime counter on them. And on top of that, when they die, I get a 1/1 slug. Cool. So being able to essentially say, your creatures are going to perpetually get smaller, and when they get taken out, I now get slugs. And also, you get drained, thanks to my Massacre Worm as well. Yeah, this card is just a game changer, a game ender, and just such a fun card for you to play. Pick it up right now for just 90 cents. Again, there are so many amazing cards in Magic, and yeah, you can spend up. You can definitely spend on a $10 card, or you can spend on 10 $1 cards right now and pick up these amazing ones. Again, Lord of Extinction, probably the biggest creature that's going to be on the board no matter when you play it. Perilous Forays, sacrifice things, go get lands. What's not to love about that? Certain combinations of that too can be so much fun. Mystic Reflection, turn everything into the best thing, essentially, out there on the table. Treasure Vault, have this just stick in the deck, not take up a spot in the deck, and all of a sudden you sacrifice it and you get so much value out of it. Rabble Rousing, being able to just double up your army every single turn. What's not to love about that? Doom Whisperer, being able to just, play an already good threatening creature. Again, 6/6 Flampler for 5 mana, but dig down in your deck and get rid of basically things you don't need. Get them in your graveyard where you can utilize them still and get the right thing on top and take advantage of the life loss too. The Ambush, being able to just make a ton of elves out of nowhere. Elf synergies, obviously, but yeah, outside of that too, just a really good card. Rishkar's Expertise, play things for free, or thing for free while drawing an absurd amount of cards. Seasons Past, again, get so many cards out of your graveyard back in your hand and do some really weird things, really weird shenanigans with it being on the bottom of your library too. Or how about Massacre Worm again? Finish off your opponents, finish off their creatures, and just decimate their hopes and dreams. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.